Hello and welcome to the top 10 most likely issues for the November Management Case Study exam. So first of all, before we begin, I'm going to talk about where the basis of my choices comes from. Now, first of all, it's going to be based on the amount of space devoted to the particular topic within the pre-scene. If there is 4 pages worth of material devoted to a certain area, it's likely that there's a degree of importance attached to that by the examiner. Also, going back to the SWOT analysis that we built throughout the pre-scene and also in the strategic analysis video, the previous video, the importance of the SWOT. What kind of topics were relevant to the SWOT and how likely they are to come up again. And also on my own personal experience. So as a mock writer, as an exam writer, how easy it is to write exams on certain subjects, how likely or how easy it is to link certain subjects together, and the kind of general issues that often come up, and also what has gone on in previous exams. So what happened in the May exam, what happened in the August exam, and so on. So how to prepare for these issues? Well, after we've gone through, perhaps you could go through it yourself again and make some models on the information. Make some key models based on the analysis in the pre-scene and also in these top 10 issues. Also, you might want to practice some mock exams. Now, after the previous case studies, we sent out surveys to students who had passed, students who had failed, and one of the things that kept coming up was how they valued practicing mock exams. It was the one thing that most people thought helped them, and it was also the one thing that most people thought they should have done more of. So after going through these issues, you might want to look at what real companies such as Capgemini, such as Accenture are doing with these same issues. And also just going through the topics as a whole and listing a bunch of key advantages and disadvantages based on that. So my first one here is risk management. Now, as we know from our analysis of the pre-scene, it's a large company operating in Cayman, affluent country with a good infrastructure and very industrialized. So it's a large company and it's facing all sorts of risks. Poor commercial performance, for example, is a risk that the company faces, particularly as a listed company. It needs to appease shareholders. And also, given the nature of the industry, given the nature of the company, it has a lot of stock, personal stock in intellectual property. So why do I feel this will come up? Well, there are 2 pages devoted to it in the pre-scene. There is an entire extract from the risk management report. It's also a very regular, very popular exam topic, which you will see throughout P1, P2 and P3. And the reason why I think it's particularly relevant for the management case study is because risk has always been a big thing at P1 and P3. And it was during the syllabus update that they brought in a lot of bridging P2 knowledge, P2 topics into P2. So also it can be used to link to things from E2 and F2. So for example, a PESEL analysis, which is a key E2 model, could pick out a risk, and then risk management would then be used to talk about ways in which that risk could be mitigated. And finally, F2 could be brought in to find out ways of which that mitigating process could be funded. So what you want to talk about this is ways in which they could mitigate the risks, ways in which you could get around those risks. For example, by using the TARA model. So that, of course, is transfer, avoid, reduce, and accept. So is there a way to transfer that risk by outsourcing it to another company? Could we avoid that risk by simply not going down that route or going down a different route? Could we reduce that risk by bringing in some sort of mitigating factor? And also, could we just accept that those are the risks? So what you want to do when you're talking about risk management in the exam is to talk about the risk that they've identified in the risk management report and talk about the ways in which the business has attempted to mitigate them, and have they mitigated them enough Could they have done it further? Also, other risks that haven't been identified. Now, those of you who have watched the He2 risk management video of the pre-seen series will have seen those other risks that I put in at the end, which included exchange and interest risks, which links to F2. Now, in addition to the TARA model that I've already mentioned, you could also bring in the risk management process and the CIMA risk cycle, and all those other risk models that you will have used in your P2 studies. So what I suggest you do is get those models out from your P2 studies and look at them in relation to ABC in the context of the company within the pre-seed. So now we move on to issue 9, which is ethics and corporate social responsibility. Now, this could be to do with perhaps the treatment of staff or business practices at ABC or at possible or existing clients. Now, the reason why I bring this up is recently Apple, who had employed a Chinese manufacturing company to produce their products, got in trouble because this Chinese company had been mistreating their staff. Now, this was something that Apple didn't know about, they had no control over, yet the issue still had an impact on them. It had a public relations issue on them. The public expected a company like Apple to know what was going on and to make sure that anyone who was involved with their business was treated well. Now, another reason why I've chosen this is because of it being such a key CIMA topic. It's one of CIMA's darling topics, so to speak, and they often bring it in, be it as an actual out-and-out question or as a part of another question, like a little tag-on of an ethical issue on top of perhaps a larger topic. Another reason that I've thought about this is because there is no clear CSR or ethical code in the pre-seed, yet there are lots of ethical issues that come up. For example, Andrew often talks about giving the customer exactly what the customer needs rather than what ABC want to sell them, even going as far as sacrificing potential lucrative business opportunities because it's better that the company gives the client exactly what they need. So a few key things that you'll want to talk about here is that you should always take the moral high ground when it comes to ethics. If there is any area where ethics is the issue and there's some debate, it could be an ethical issue, it could not be an ethical issue, you should always take the moral high ground. You should always act as if anything that could possibly not be ethically correct is ethically incorrect. And also, why does the company not have an ethical code? We haven't been given one, but that's not to say they don't have one. We could be given more information. And why is there no code on corporate social responsibility? In modern day business, this is an imperative thing for your business, for all stakeholders. Large businesses are generally expected to have a code on ethics, a code on corporate social responsibility that all members of staff, everyone involved with the business is expected to adhere to. And of course, you could use the Mendelow's matrix here to talk about affected stakeholders. So for example, if you have a new business opportunity that's going to greatly affect certain stakeholders, be it positive or negative, you have to look at whether the positives outweigh the negatives. And also whether the negatives are so strong that they actually become an ethical issue. Are we mistreating certain stakeholders by going ahead with this new opportunity?